Yoga Fundamentals. I'm Calley. If you have a tennis ball and a couple of blocks, we're going to be using those today. We're going to start out with a little digestive massage. So let's all come to lay down on our backs. Finding that long spine, lengthening those legs, letting those eyes shut down, letting those shoulders relax, letting your hips soften. Starting to bring your focus to your breath. Starting to slow those breaths down, deepening those inhales. Keeping those lips sealed, breathing in through your nose. Filling up, expanding those lungs, letting that belly rise. On your exhale, keeping those lips sealed. Breathing out through your nose, feeling that vibration in the back of your throat. Just taking a couple more breaths here, making each one just a little bit deeper. Finding a little more space. Pausing at the top of that inhale. On your exhale, emptying those lungs, getting all of that stale air out. And then finding that tennis ball, or just using your peace fingers here. We're going to start with a little digestion massage, helping to improve that gut health. Everybody's talking about it right now, so let's just start out by bringing those fingers or that ball just to the very base of your belly, right above your pubic bone. We'll start by moving that ball around, coming up the right side, around the outer edge of your belly, just below your ribs, and rolling it all the way around, coming down that left side. Just moving in nice big slow circles. Inhaling as you roll it up. Exhaling, coming down the other side. And then starting to take that ball in little circles, or taking your fingers in circles as you move it around in that big circle. Just moving with your breath. Finishing up this final circle. Bringing that ball down by your side. And then bringing those feet together. And on your inhale, pulling that right knee into your chest. Interlacing your fingers over the top of your shin. And then softening those shoulders down. Tucking that chin slightly. Taking that nice deep inhale. And on your exhale, drawing that knee in. Emptying those lungs, bringing that thigh to the outside edge of your belly. One more breath. And keeping that left hand on top of that knee, reaching that right arm out to the side. And on your exhale, pulling that knee across to the left side of your body. Looking out over those right fingers. Seeing if you can keep both of those shoulders down. And coming back to the center. Inhaling that foot up to the ceiling, finding that grip onto the back of your thigh. And then just gently pulsing that leg in a couple of times, helping to open that hamstring. Releasing that grip, floating that foot down, grounding that right heel, inhaling your left knee, finding your grip. And if it's more comfortable to bring those hands behind the back of your thigh here, you can always do that too. Softening those shoulders, tucking that chin, nice deep breath. And on your exhale, drawing that left knee in. Feeling that compression of your thigh. Emptying those lungs. One more breath. And then bringing that right hand on top of your left knee, stretching that left arm out, pulling that knee across, gazing to your left. Just using that breath, seeing if you can soften on your exhale. And coming back to the center. Stretching that left foot up, finding that grip on the back of that thigh. And gently pulsing that leg in. Feeling that nice deep stretch. Then releasing that grip, floating your foot down. And on your inhale, bringing both of those knees into your chest, interlacing those fingers, and then softening those shoulders back down to the mat. Keeping that chin tucked slightly, taking that deep breath. And on your exhale, drawing those knees in. Keeping that whole spine flat down on the mat, keeping that tailbone glued. One more breath. And then bringing those hands to the back of your thighs, starting to rock and roll front and back. Coming up to your seat. Maybe sitting cross-legged here. Maybe sitting on top of a block if that's a little more comfortable. Whatever works for your body today. We're going to be here for a little bit. We're going to start out with some spinal exercises, just waking that spine up from the base. Starting with the Sufi grinds, we're going to bring those hands on top of the knees, taking that nice deep inhale. And on your exhale, starting to take that body in big circles, either direction. Inhaling as you come back and around. Exhaling to the front. Just keeping that spine straight and tall, letting that movement come from those hips. Then pausing at the top. And on that exhale, moving in the opposite direction. Moving from your hips. Just with the rhythm of your own breath. As you finished up this last circle, meeting back in the middle, bringing those hands to your ankles, taking that nice deep inhale, sitting up tall, and starting to move through a little seated cat-cow here. On that inhale, lifting your chest, lifting your gaze, pulling those shoulders back. And on your exhale, rounding your spine, pulling your belly in, tucking your chin. Moving through that with your breath. Last one. Meeting back in the middle. Sitting up tall, bringing those hands on top of your shoulders, looping those thumbs over the back, bringing those arms parallel to the floor. On that inhale, moving in one direction. On your exhale, moving the other way. Starting to open up that middle back. Twisting through your spine. Staying nice and tall. Last breath. Bringing those hands down on top of your knees. And then starting to take those shoulders in circles. Shrugging those shoulders up by your ears. Circling those shoulders back. Pulling those shoulder blades together. And then moving in the opposite direction. And coming back to the center, sitting up tall, and starting to take that head in circles. On your exhale, pulling that chin to your chest. Inhale as you circle back and around. And pausing at the top, changing the direction of your circle. Meeting back in the center. And on that inhale, reaching those arms up, bringing those hands together in prayer. Stretching and lengthening through the tips of your fingers, seeing if you can touch the ceiling. And on your exhale, bringing those hands up and over, bringing those palms down to the mat, or maybe staying up on those fingers. Maybe starting to walk those fingertips out, stretching that spine long. And then rolling over, coming onto your knees, and coming into that tabletop position. Just finding that nice neutral spine, bringing those knees hip-width distance, stacking those shoulders over your elbows, maybe snaking that spine out here for just a moment. And then meeting back in the middle, and on your inhale, starting to move through your cat-cow, lifting that gaze, pulling that chest through, dropping your belly. Exhale, rounding your spine. Pulling that chin to your chest. Just moving through that with your breath. Meeting back in the middle. Starting to ground into that left hand. And on that inhale, bringing that right arm up. Stretching through those fingertips. Pulling that shoulder back. Opening your heart. Maybe bringing that right hand behind that left hip, taking a little bind. Then inhale, reaching those fingers. Exhale, threading the needle, dropping that right shoulder, bringing that right ear down, starting to walk those left fingertips to the top of the mat. Just taking those nice deep breaths. And starting to walk that hand back in, pushing into that left hand, reaching that right arm. Exhale, right hand comes down, moving through your cat-cow, resetting your spine, and coming back to your tabletop, grounding that right hand, reaching that left arm up, stretching through those fingers, maybe taking a bind here. Inhaling it up. Exhale, threading the needle, bringing that left shoulder down. Walking those right fingers to the top. Seeing if you can soften it down on each exhale. And then starting to walk that right hand back in, pushing into your palm, reaching that left arm up, lowering it down, moving through one more cat-cow here. And coming back to that tabletop, tucking those toes underneath you, and on that inhale, lifting those knees, hovering off the mat. On your exhale, pushing those hips back, coming to your first down dog. Just taking a little bit of time here, pedaling those legs, taking whatever movement feels good, maybe bringing those heels down to one side and then the other. Maybe bending deep into one knee, opening that opposite side. Moving to the other side. Then lifting those heels up high, massaging those toes. And then bringing those heels down toward the mat, pushing into those palms, lifting through your hips, starting to look up to the top of the mat, starting to step it up. Keeping those feet just about hip width distance here. And just taking a little bit of time in your first forward fold, keeping those knees nice and soft. Maybe starting to sway those hips from one side to the other. Maybe finding those opposite elbows. Hanging like a rag doll. Just taking a few nice deep breaths. Shaking that head yes and no. And coming back to the middle. Releasing that grip. Bringing that right hand down below your face. Maybe onto a block, bending into that right knee, and on your inhale, reaching that left arm up. Stretching through those fingers, pulling your shoulder back, maybe taking your bind. Inhale, reaching it up. Exhale, left hand comes down. Inhale, right arm up. Maybe bringing that hand behind you, pulling that shoulder back, lifting your gaze. And inhaling it up, exhale, lowering it down. Starting to walk those toes together. And on that inhale, starting to roll it up. Bringing that chin out last. Finding your Tadasana. Giving yourself a couple little shoulder rolls. Grounding into those feet. Pulling your belly in, lengthening your spine. And on your inhale, bringing those arms up your sides. Hands in prayer. Maybe starting to bring that gaze up, lifting through your heart. And on your exhale, hands down, heart center. Inhale, swooping those arms. Exhale, hinging forward. Bringing those hands down. Inhale, coming halfway up, hands to shins, lengthening your spine. Exhale, bringing those hands back down to the mat. On that inhale, grounding your feet, swooping those arms up, bringing those hands together. On your exhale, taking that gentle back bend, lifting your chest, reaching those fingers back. Inhaling it up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Inhale, reaching. Exhale, hinging forward. Coming up halfway, finding that length. And then bringing those hands down to the mat, stepping those feet back. Coming to that plank or knee plank here, finding that nice, tall, straight, long spine, pulling that belly in. And then on that inhale, flowing forward, starting to bring those elbows in close to your body, coming down through Chaturanga. Pushing the tops of the feet down, coming through your cobra or up dog. And then pushing back, lifting those hips, coming to your down dog. Starting to pedal those knees out. And then looking up to the top of the mat, starting to step those feet up. Bringing those feet together, grounding Inhale, swooping those arms, bringing those hands together. Exhale, gentle back bend. Inhaling it up, hands down, heart center, swooping those arms, and then hinging forward, hands to the mat, coming halfway, and then bringing those hands down, stepping those feet back. On that exhale, lowering down, moving through your vinyasa. Meeting back in your down dog. Giving yourself a breath. And then walking those toes together. And on that inhale, bringing that right leg up behind you. Pushing into those hands, stretching through your heel. And on that exhale, pulling that knee in, flowing forward into your plank. Inhale, sending that leg back up behind you. Exhale, bringing that knee around the outside edge of that right elbow, hugging it up. Inhaling it back. Exhale, coming to that left elbow. Inhale. This time on your exhale, stepping that foot through between your hands. Dropping that back knee down, untucking those toes, and coming to your low lunge here. Finding those blocks, and then stacking that knee directly over your ankle, sitting up nice and tall. Just taking a couple little pulses here, helping to open up that hip. And on your exhale, starting to peel those toes back. Coming to your half split, walking those blocks back, finding that nice tall spine. And on your exhale, hinging that body forward. Seeing if you can lay that chest right down on top of that thigh, feeling that nice deep stretch. And then flowing through this a couple times on your own, inhaling it forward, lifting your gaze, lifting your heart. Exhale, pulling it back. Once more. Meeting in that low lunge. Maybe bringing that block to the inside of your foot here. On that inhale, swooping those arms up, reaching through those fingertips. On your exhale, right hand comes down, left arm reaches. Pulling that left shoulder back, maybe bringing that gaze up. Exhale, left hand comes down. Inhale, right arm comes up. Lifting through your chest, stretching through those fingers. On your exhale, bringing that right hand down, framing that foot, tucking those back toes. Inhale, right leg comes up. Exhale, lowering it down. Walking those toes together. And then bringing that left heel up behind you. Pushing into those hands, stretching through your heel. On your exhale, pulling that knee in, flowing it forward. Inhale, sending that foot back. Exhale, coming to your left elbow. Inhale, reaching that heel. Exhale, coming around that right elbow. Inhaling it back. And this time on that exhale, stepping that foot through. Bringing that back knee down, finding those blocks. Finding that low lunge, sitting up nice and tall, taking some pulses, opening up that hip flexor. And then starting to peel those left toes back, walking those blocks back, finding that long spine, and on your exhale, hinging it forward. Stretching that left hamstring. Breathing into it. And starting to flow through that just with your breath, inhaling it forward, lifting your gaze. Exhale, bringing it back. Once more. Meeting in that low lunge as you're ready, bringing that block to the inside of that left foot. Inhale, reaching those arms up, Stretching those fingers, lifting your heart. On your exhale, bringing that left hand down. Right arm comes up. Pulling that right shoulder back, lifting through your heart. Exhale, right hand comes down. Inhale, left arm reaches. Exhale, lowering it down. Framing your foot, tucking those back toes, pulling that left leg in, sending that foot up behind you. Exhale, lowering it down. Looking up to the top of the mat, starting to step those feet up. Bringing those feet together. Grounding through all four corners, bending deep into those knees, and on that inhale, bringing those arms up, coming to your chair pose. Bringing that weight into those heels, reaching through those fingertips, pulling your belly in, bringing those fingers in toward one another, finding that internal rotation. Seeing if you can sink those hips down just a little bit more. Inhale as you reach. Exhale, opening to the right. Bringing that gaze back, keeping those knees pointing straight ahead. Inhaling it up. Exhale, opening to the left. Looking back toward that left thumb. Inhaling it to the center, hands together. Exhale, left elbow comes down, right elbow reaches. Inhaling it back. Exhale, other side. Looking up over that shoulder. Coming back to the center. On that inhale, reaching those arms, bringing those hands together, straightening those legs, coming all the way up. Exhale, taking that gentle back bend. Inhaling to the center. Exhale, hinging forward, hands to the mat. Coming up halfway. And then bringing those hands down, stepping those feet back. Coming down through plank or knee plank, moving through your vinyasa with your breath. Meeting back in your down dog. Walking those legs out. And then bringing those toes together, and on that inhale, bringing that right leg up. This time bending that knee, dropping that heel down, opening that right side. Maybe flipping that dog over. And coming back to the center. On your exhale, pulling that knee through. Stepping that foot. Bringing that back heel down. And on that inhale, coming up to your warrior one pose. Really grounding through both feet, adjusting your stance if you need to. Squaring that body forward, reaching through those arms. On your exhale, opening up, warrior two. Looking over those front fingers. Keeping that front knee stacked, belly pulled in. And on that inhale, gliding it forward. Flipping that palm. Exhale, reversing your warrior. Reaching up and over, maybe binding that left hand behind that right hip. Inhaling it up. Exhale, right hand comes down, left arm reaches, side angle. Stretching those fingers in opposite directions. Maybe starting to bring those right fingers down, bringing that left arm up and over, extended side angle. And then circling that arm around. Bringing it back to your warrior, starting to straighten that front leg, turning both sets of toes to the long side of your mat, taking that nice deep breath as you find that length into your spine, and on your exhale, starting to hinge forward from your hips, keeping that spine straight and long, leading with your heart, finding that grip onto your mat, maybe onto your block, maybe coming to the sides of your feet or ankles. Giving yourself a minute to bend through one knee and then the other. Hoping to open up those hips. Meeting back in the middle. Bringing that weight into the balls of your feet, finding that nice tall spine. And on your exhale, hinging it forward, lifting those sits bones. Seeing if you can fold that body in half. Maybe if that head is all the way down on your mat and you like to pull up into that inversion, feel free to do so. Just taking those breaths, seeing where you can release. Seeing if you can sink it down just a little bit more on each exhale. And then inhale, coming halfway up, bringing those arms out wide. Rising yourself all the way to standing, turning those right toes out. Coming back to your warrior. And then cartwheeling those hands down, pulling that right heel in, sending that foot up. Exhale, lowering down. Giving yourself a breath. And then bringing those toes together, inhaling that left leg up, bending that knee, opening your hip. Maybe flipping your dog. And coming back to neutral. And on your exhale, pulling that knee in, stepping that foot through. Grounding that right heel. And on your inhale, coming up to your warrior. Squaring that body, adjusting your stance, stacking that front knee right over your ankle. And on your exhale, opening up, warrior two. Looking over those front fingers, hugging that belly in. Inhale, gliding it forward, flipping that palm. Exhale, reversing your warrior. Maybe taking that bind, maybe walking those right fingers down that back leg. Staying strong and lifted. And inhaling it up. Exhale, left hand comes down, right arm reaches. Opening your heart. Maybe starting to drop those left fingertips down, bringing that right arm up and over. And taking that big circle, coming back to your warrior. Starting to straighten that front leg, turning those toes to the long side. Taking that nice deep inhale. This time on your exhale, bringing those hands behind your back, interlacing your fingers. Maybe using your strap here too if you like. Pulling those shoulder blades together. And then starting to lift that gaze up if it's comfortable for your neck. Pulling those hands out away from your bottom. And on your exhale, starting to hinge it forward. Bringing those arms up and over. Breathing into it. Feeling that nice deep stretch into your shoulders. One more breath. And release, coming up halfway, releasing your grip, bringing those arms out wide. On your exhale, bringing those hands to prayer. Right arm comes down, maybe onto your block. Inhale, left arm reaches. Maybe taking your bind, pulling that left shoulder open. Inhaling it up. Exhale, arms come out to your sides, bringing those hands together. And then left hand down, right arm reaches. Maybe bringing that right hand behind, pulling that shoulder back. And inhaling it up. Exhale, arms come wide, bringing those hands to your hips. Inhaling it all the way up. And turning those left toes to the front, bringing those arms out wide. Exhale, cartwheeling those hands down. Pulling that left knee in, sending that foot up behind you. Lowering it down. Looking to the top of the mat and starting to step those feet up. Bringing those feet together. Bending into those knees. Inhaling, coming up to your chair for just a breath. Exhale, sending those arms back. Inhale, flying it forward. Exhale, sending them back. Inhale, reach. Exhale, sending those arms back. Interlacing those fingers this time. Opening that chest. Sinking those hips back. Then releasing that grip, reaching those arms, bringing those hands together. Straightening those legs, coming all the way up. Exhale, gentle back bend. Inhale. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Then swooping those arms, hinging it forward, bringing those hands down. Inhale, coming halfway up. Exhale, stepping it back. Moving through your vinyasa. Meeting back in your down dog. Bringing those toes together. And on that inhale, bringing that right leg up. Bending that knee, dropping your heel. Inhaling it back. Exhale, stepping that foot through. Bringing that back heel down. Coming up to your warrior. And then opening up warrior two. Finding that block if you like it for your triangle. And then starting to straighten that front leg out. Finding that long spine. And on your inhale, gliding those fingers forward, sending that left hip back. Hinging from those shoulders, bringing that right hand down. Reaching through that left arm, lifting through your heart. Staying strong and lifted through your core. Maybe bringing that right arm up, challenging that core strength. One more breath. And then lowering it down, bringing that left arm up and over, extended triangle. And then circling that hand around, bringing that block with you, coming back up. Bringing that weight forward into that right leg and starting to scooch those back toes in until you can find that balance, finding that one spot on the floor to focus your gaze, hinging it forward, coming to your half moon. Really lifting through those left fingers, seeing if you can bring that back leg parallel. Maybe keeping that gaze down, maybe starting to lift that gaze, trusting yourself. One more breath. Exhale, tapping it back. Breathing it up, turning those toes to the long side of the mat. And this time, bringing those toes out just about to a 45-degree angle. Maybe walking those heels in just a little bit closer and making your way to your goddess pose. Seeing if you can stack those knees right over your ankles, finding that tall spine, bringing those hands together. Maybe taking a moment to sway those hips from one side to the other, opening up. And then bringing those hands down onto your knees, taking that nice deep inhale, and on your exhale, dropping that right shoulder down, taking your twist, inhaling it back to the center, exhale, other side. Just a couple more times on each side. Just moving with your breath. Meeting back in the middle, bringing those arms up overhead, bringing those palms together, straightening those legs, and then turning those right toes back to the front. Coming back to that warrior, cartwheeling those hands down, pulling that knee in, sending that foot up behind you. Lowering down, maybe dropping that right knee here. Maybe bringing both of those heels down to the side and pulling up into your side plank. Reaching through that left arm, opening through your chest. Maybe starting to lift that left leg parallel to the mat. And then lowering it down. Coming down through your vinyasa. Getting back in your down dog. Giving yourself a breath. And on that inhale, bringing that left leg up. Bending that knee, dropping your heel. Inhaling it up. Exhale, pulling that knee in, stepping that foot through. Lowering that back heel. Coming up to your warrior one, and then opening up warrior two, straightening that front knee, finding that block if you like it. And on that inhale, reaching those fingers forward, sending those hips back, hinging at the shoulders, coming into your triangle, stretching through those fingertips. Maybe starting to lift that left hand, challenging that core strength here, staying strong and engaged. And then bringing that right arm up and over. Circling it around, bringing that block with you. Starting to transfer that weight forward, walking those back toes up. And as you're ready, hinging it forward. Coming into your half moon. Maybe starting to bring that gaze up. Opening through your heart. Flexing those toes for balance. And as you're ready, tapping it back. Coming back to your warrior. And then cartwheeling those hands down. Pulling that heel in, sending that foot up, lowering it down. Maybe bringing that left knee down, maybe dropping those heels to the side, finding your side plank. Maybe lifting that right leg, staying strong and engaged. And then lowering it down, moving through your vinyasa. Meeting back in your down dog. And starting to bring those knees down to the mat. Maybe letting those knees come out wide. And just walking it back, finding your way to your child's pose. Giving yourself a couple of breaths. Maybe using a block for support underneath those hips too, if that's more comfortable here. Just letting that heart rate come back down. Just gonna do a few spine strengtheners here. So as you're ready, we'll make our way down onto our belly. Bringing those legs together. Stretching those feet out behind you. Bringing those hands in close to your body. And then pushing the tops of the feet down into the mat, pulling those elbows in close. And on your inhale, starting to lift that chest up off the mat, using the strength of your spine here, seeing if you can hover those palms off the mat, reaching forward through the crown of your head, maybe starting to bring that gaze up, maybe pushing into those hands, coming up a little bit more, and release. Left ear to the mat, arms by your side, taking a breath. And getting ready for our locust pose. Let's start by bringing those arms out wide. Just like you have airplane wings, hands just slightly lower than your shoulders. Fingers glued together, gluing your legs together. And on your inhale, lifting through your chest. Exhale as you lift those thighs up. Inhale, pulling your shoulder blades together, opening your palms. Seeing if you can come all the way up onto those hips. One more breath, coming up just a little bit more, and release. Left ear to the mat, arms by your side, taking a breath. And then bringing that chin back down to the mat, this time interlacing those fingers behind your bottom or using that strap here in both hands. Pulling those shoulder blades together. On that inhale, starting to lift through your heart. Exhale as you lift through those thighs. Seeing if you can come all the way up. One more breath. And release. Lowering down. Pushing back, coming back to your child's pose. Giving yourself a couple of breaths. As you're ready, come to sit down on your bottom, bringing those legs out in front of you, flexing those toes back, finding that nice tall Dandasana, and then bringing the sole of that left foot to the inside of your right thigh, keeping that right knee nice and soft, squaring that body forward over your right leg, taking that nice deep breath as you reach through those arms. Now on your exhale, rounding it forward, finding that grip onto the ball of your foot, maybe to your shin or ankle. Seeing if you can bring that forehead down on top of that knee. Maybe starting to slide that heel out. Just breathing into it. Using that exhale, seeing if you can melt it down just a little bit more. Then inhaling it up. Bringing that left heel to the mat. Bringing that left arm behind you. And on your inhale, reaching that right arm up. Exhale, finding your twist. Bringing that right arm around the outside of that left leg. Sitting up tall, starting to bring that gaze over your left shoulder. Pulling that shoulder back. Maybe lifting that left hand, taking a little bind here. And then releasing, coming back to the center. Bringing that right arm behind you, pushing into that left foot and reaching that left arm up and over. Maybe bringing that gaze toward that back wall. Lowering it down. Stretching that left foot out. Wiggling those legs for a second. And then bringing that right foot into the left thigh. Softening your left knee. Squaring your body forward. Inhale, reaching those arms up. Exhale, rounding it forward. Finding your grip. Bringing that head down. Maybe starting to slide that heel out. Just taking those nice deep breaths. Inhaling it up. Bringing that right foot to the mat. Bringing that right arm behind you. Reaching that left arm. And on your exhale, finding your twist. Keeping that spine straight and long, perpendicular to the mat. Seeing if you can pull that shoulder back. Rolling those eyes back. One more breath. And release. Bringing that left arm behind you. Pushing into that right foot, reaching through those right fingers. Maybe bringing that gaze back, lifting those hips. And then lowering it down. Bringing both legs out in front. Softening those knees. Inhale, reaching those arms. Exhale, hinging it forward. Maybe finding that grip over the tops of your feet or around your big toes. Maybe bringing that grip to your shins or ankles. Seeing if you can fold that body right over those legs. Maybe starting to slide those heels out. Maybe walking those hips back. Just taking those nice deep breaths. Then inhaling it up. Bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Just windshield wipering those legs out for just a moment here. And then starting to find that balance on your hips, maybe keeping those feet on the floor, maybe starting to lift those heels up, coming to your boat pose, keeping that spine straight and long, reaching forward through those fingers, maybe starting to lift those arms, maybe straightening those legs, feeling that tremble, and then starting to row your boat here for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling it up. And on your exhale, lowering it down for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming all the way down, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. Just letting those legs, windshield wiper, letting that lower back release. And then finding that stillness. Starting to walk those heels in just a little bit closer to your body. Maybe finding that block here for a little supported bridge, or just taking your easy bridge, whatever you like. We'll start to tuck those shoulders underneath you. And then on that inhale, lifting those hips up. Maybe bringing that block down below your hips. Maybe interlacing those fingers here. And just giving yourself a couple little breaths. Letting that whole body relax. And as you're ready, starting to lift those hips up, moving that block out of your way, lowering it down, letting that whole spine come flat to the mat, and then grounding that left heel to the mat. And on that inhale, reaching that right leg up, flexing those toes back, maybe finding that grip on the back of your thigh. Just pulsing that leg in a couple of times. And then bending that knee, crossing that ankle over the top of that left thigh, opening that hip up, and then finding that grip on the back of that left thigh. Letting those shoulders soften, maybe flexing both of those toes here for a deeper stretch. Releasing that grip, keeping that right leg crossed over the top, or just uncrossing those legs and bringing those knees together. Bringing that left hand on top of your right knee, reaching that right arm out, and just letting those legs come down to the left side. Just taking a little spinal twist, gazing over those right fingers. And coming back to the center, grounding that right foot, inhaling that left leg up, flexing those toes, finding that grip, releasing that hamstring, and then crossing that foot over the top of that right knee, opening your hip, finding that grip on that right thigh, softening those shoulders down, just taking a couple of pulses. Releasing that grip, bringing that right foot down. Maybe keeping those legs crossed. Maybe bringing those knees together, stretching that left arm out, using that right hand to help bring those legs across your body. And coming back to the center. Bringing both of those feet to the mat. Windshield wipering those legs. If you like, pulling up to your happy baby here, finding that grip on the outside edges of your feet. Maybe bringing the soles of your feet together. And just rocking from one side to the other. And as you're ready, starting to make your way back down to the mat. Stretching those legs out, reaching those arms up overhead, taking that final full body stretch. Engaging all of those muscles, pointing your toes, squeezing your buns, reaching through those fingers. And on your exhale, just letting it all go. Letting those arms come out wide. Letting those palms come open. Maybe bringing some blocks underneath your knees. Maybe finding legs up the wall. Maybe bringing that eye pillow with you. Just finding your very most comfortable Shavasana. Finding that anchor. Softening your breath. Acknowledging those thoughts as they come. And just letting them move on their way. Start to wiggle out those fingers and toes. Bringing a little movement back to your body, maybe taking those wrists in circles. Waving those toes from one side to the other. And then reaching those arms up overhead, stretching yourself long. On your exhale, pulling those knees in, giving yourself a big hug. Maybe starting to roll from one side to the other. And as you're ready, making your way over to one side. Pulling those knees in close, giving yourself a few breaths here. And as you're ready, coming up to your seat. Sitting up nice and tall, bringing those hands together at heart center. Taking that nice deep inhale, finding all of that length into your spine, lifting up through the crown of your head. On your exhale, bowing that chin, bringing that forward.